welcome to Retech, and as you can see I have a Mac. You can see it's a CRT model with a slight flicker on the screen, and you can probably hear the fans kicking off in the background. And today we're going to talk about this beast of a machine. I've had it for about 3 years. I think I've only turned it on once, and I kind of had a look at it earlier on today, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to have another stab at these Apple computers, because never been the biggest kind of iMac fan, to be fair. I've used them under work conditions. I've used them now and again for a little bit of sort of pleasure or surfing and, you know, the usual things, but nothing in anger. So I'm kind of looking back at this machine to see what it was really all about, and this is the eMac. This is not your standard iMac. This was produced for one reason only. It was for the educational market, and it was only produced between 2002 and 2005. The original machine was only produced for around about 12 months, and it had a few iterations. It was based on the G4, and it ranged from 700 megahertz to 1.24 gigahertz, I believe, or thereabouts. And they were not really originally released for the home market, but they did eventually make their way there, and you could actually go and buy one of these for the home, and I kind of wondered why. But first thing, I'm just going to take a look at the machine. Now, the machine itself is massively bulky. It's very, very heavy. It's not something you'd really want to cart from place to place, which kind of made it ideal for the education market, simply because you couldn't pick it up and walk out with it. You'd kind of notice, or people would kind of notice, if you tried to do it. And because of this, it was ideally suited to stay where it was in the classroom. The keyboard is one of the keyboards that I actually like. It's not the kind of square, flat buttoned 3/4 size keyboards that you'd get with later iMacs and later Apple computers. It's actually a full size, full travel keyboard. It's not the best. It looks nice. It's really nice in this white color with the kind of see-through bezel around it, and it actually feels okay, but it's definitely not a genuine kind of key switched keyboard. Feels slightly mushy, but in comparison to the later models, it's an absolute dream to use. And it's kind of gradually becoming a favorite keyboard, because it's a USB keyboard. You can just plug it into anything you like, a Windows PC, another Mac, anything with a USB port, and use it. Even a tablet, if you have a USB adapter or a standard USB port on the side of it. So yeah, you can use this on just about anything. Now, this machine, as I say, is quite unusual in the fact that it wasn't out for that long, and we're just going to take a quick tour of the machine before we have a look at it, because at first my idea was to find out if you could edit videos on this. But if you have a quick look at the specs, which will drop down here, you can see there's not really enough memory. You know, you're looking at kind of half a gig on the base machine, 40 gig hard drive. You know, it's not gonna kind of cut and run with video editing, but it was something that I was playing with, and I think you can do some basic editing on this, but if you wanted to do quite long videos, then you kind of may be stuck. And also, it doesn't run in anything but kind of standard resolution. It doesn't like HD resolution. It doesn't even really know what that is, to be honest, and it's kind of limited in that department. But there is one really surprising thing I found out about this, which we'll cover in a moment. So let's take a look at the machine. Okay, so front, you'll see it's got a nice clear glass CRT screen, and that's what makes this very, very heavy. You have two built-in speakers. You also have a flap, which behind this flap could be a CD-ROM drive, but this is the original Educator's marker and doesn't have one there at all. It's just a flap, and it's, you know, kind of basic. It's to do a job, okay, and that's all it really was. As I said, the keyboard's absolutely lovely to use, and the mouse is one of my favourite. I just like the look of it. It's quite nice. I mean, as I said, I wasn't a massive fan of these, but I actually quite like the effort that was put into making them look really good. So we'll just turn the machine around. Okay, and you can actually see by the sheer bulk of this machine, it's polycarbonate. The whole case is a polycarbonate, kind of almost translucent, and it is huge. Even spinning it round the back, you have these massive vents and airways through it, and you put your hand there, you can actually feel it pumping out the air. The fans do work very hard in this machine to keep it cool, and it's really, really heavy. I mean, you wouldn't want to try and kind of lift it up all the time while you sat down, but you can. It's kind of just about manageable, really. You wouldn't want to kind of lug it around, you know, from house to house or to your friends. You just wouldn't. But that was the whole idea of this machine. And as we spin it round on the side again, we have a string of inputs on here. You have everything from your headphones, your mic, your USB adapters, and you also have your network adapter on the side. And in the back of the keyboard, you also have two USB ports plugged directly into the back of the keyboard, and that makes it nice to plug in the mice here. Now, you wouldn't really see a massive amount of difference between this eMac and the way it presents itself. Maybe, obviously, the background might be different, but the general kind of basic appearance hasn't massively changed that much between models, and that's a good thing, because it keeps kind of people who have grown up with Apple computers, it keeps them used to the format, so they don't have to have a massive learning curve, which is a very nice thing. And you know, the screen is incredibly sharp. It's really nice to look at. Obviously you'll see a bit of flickering on the camera, but this is massively nice to look at. And as we kind of go around it, you'll see the kind of usual things we have. Okay, Safari, which most people will know. Skype, not used as much as it used to be used, especially when this model was out there between 2002 and 2005. Skype was a huge deal, and it was one of these things that was used an awful lot. We also have usual things like your calendar, and we also have the Filmmaker, which comes with most of the Apple range, really. And that's what I was kind of going to start off to be interested in. So if we click into that, and we'll show you exactly what we mean. So the mouse is a single click button, just like every other mouse. And as we see here, you got a familiar video editing package. It shouldn't look too different to a modern film editor or a modern editing package, and it's quite intuitive, really, even for now. So for example, I've just put a couple of images on there, so I'll scroll back along here, and then we'll play it with a little bit of music in the background, and you'll see some of the things you could actually do with it. It's not really that different. You see, and there's not a lot different to what you can do on this from a regular modern package. The only restrictions you do have is the amount of memory, okay? But you know, this should be reasonably familiar to anyone who's done any editing on a PC or a Mac. So you can import your photos, your audio, your titles. You can do your basically cut and paste between scenes what you'd like it to do, whether it would want to be a circle opening or cross or whatever you'd like it to do. Okay, and then you've got your effects, which is here, so you can adjust the colors. You can age your film, which is quite good, or you can do it in black and white. You can alter your contrast, your color, everything that you can do in a modern video editing package. Although this has not got as many features, obviously, because you're limited by the memory, but if you wanted to do some basic editing, this would still do the job. Now, the good thing about this is that you can use FireWire straight from the side of this machine. Anything that you could actually use back then on this machine is completely compatible and will work really well. So if you've got a mini DV cam, you can basically connect it straight to the side via a cable like this, a FireWire cable, or anything else that you would use in the day, and basically it would work a treat. It would you just import your files and then you drop them on the timeline at the bottom of the screen, and that's as simple as it would be. Now today you have to do a lot of conversion if you've got a FireWire based camera, and you have to have a FireWire card in your PC. You also have to have the software to pull the actual data off the camera, because remember that mini DV was a digital format. So again, you have to maybe run some conversions, etc. With one of these, it should stream straight on to the front end here, and then you could use it as normal. But this isn't what I actually found was really good about this machine. So when I started playing around with it, I found that this had a fantastic go-to piece of software on here, and I'll just bring this up now. So I'll drop this one back on the bar, and then I found this piece of software, GarageBand, and it's probably one of the things I will use on this machine a lot, because it's brilliant. It's actually very good, and you might be wondering what it is. It's actually a DAW, Digital Audio Workshop, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's a great piece of software. It's got enough instruments to get you going. You can lay down quite a few tracks on here to get your composition going, and also you can use the onboard or on-screen keyboard. And you might be wondering, well, haven't you already got synthesizers and keyboards and DAWs and all of that kind of stuff? Well, yeah, I do. I have got stuff that I use on an Atari ST, things that I use on a MIDI sequences. I've got other DAWs that I use on a modern PC, but when I started playing around with this, I was kind of a little bit blown away by how good it actually was, and it was quite surprising in how many instruments that you had in it and how well it was put together, and it was just seamless. The package was worth, to me anyway, buying one of these when they were brand new. I would have happily bought one of these if I'd really been into Macs at the time. I would have happily bought one of these just to have this application running on one of these, and that might be a bit of a leap for someone who can come from STs and PCs, but it works really well. Even now, even today, even as we kind of sit now looking at this piece of software is fantastic, and I'll show you why. So let's say you want to select an instrument such as electric guitar. Okay, so we'll go to the electric lead, and you have classic acoustic, electric tremolo. So horns, you've got horn sections, you work your way down. And there's quite a lot of instruments you can choose from. And we've got loads and loads and loads of different instruments all ready to go. You know, literally as many instruments as you could probably want. Synth leads, there's actually quite a lot on here. It's okay, so you can even get some really nice sounding music out of this. Some really stunning sounds. And if I just want to move it up an octave, just literally got some absolutely cracking sounds on this. They're all very kind of reminiscent of an FM synthesizer. I mean, really some gorgeous. So yeah, so you kind of get the idea, and this is what I've really liked. I've had so much fun playing around with this, and it might be a bit weird really when you think of all the other kit I've got, but I actually like this system. So if I just play something I just put together rather quickly, let's have a look. And here we go. And there we have it, just something that was put together in literally 5 or 6 minutes just to show off what this machine could do. So, in a word, I'm kind of massively impressed by this machine. Not because of it's an iMac or an eMac or it's an Apple computer, not because it's, you know, an expensive piece of kit, which it was back in the day, not because it does anything particularly spectacular, but because of the software, the GarageBand that basically comes with a lot of these machines, and along with the video editor, which is kind of part of the package on the desktop of these machines as well. And also because the instruments on this machine sound really nice. I mean, really nice. I got some quite expensive digital audio workshops for PCs, and they're not quite, how can I explain this? They're too crystal, they're too clear, they're too perfect, and this sounds more like an FM synth. It's got those little rough edges to it, and it sounds absolutely brilliant, and I like this a lot. And it's going to be one of the machines I'm going to use to create some music, because I absolutely like the way it sounds. So when I take it away from this little speakers on the front and plug it into a small mixer, then add in some other sounds, maybe from a C64, from the Messiah, or from maybe an Atari ST, or straight from an FM keyboard, this thing would be fantastic. But I'm gonna actually start using this a lot, and this is what Retech was all about. It's finding things that can still be used and still have a purpose, and this has a purpose. It's not so much for its abilities as a computer to surf the web, because it's kind of a decade behind where we are now. It's for its abilities to make music, and that's it. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you will subscribe, and we're going to do more on this machine and more on its bigger brother, the iMac, the next generation, the flat screen generation of iMacs, and that will be coming shortly. But I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you'll subscribe, and I hope to see you again soon. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again. Thank you.